Hey, welcome to Made for More. My name is Aaron Burke. I am so pumped that you listen to this podcast every single month, and maybe someone shared it with you. I hope it helps you. We started this years ago with this idea of helping leaders within the church, pastors, business leaders, help them just continue to walk in the more that God has for them. And today is going to be a great conversation because I'm here with Manny Arrango. We were debating the last name communication. Do I go the Spanish route or do I go? I didn't do well with it.
No. But it's fine. You can go. You can do English or you can do Spanish.
Yeah.
You just got to pick one.
Okay, so what would
Whichever
be the Spanish version?
Arrango. I'm not even that good at it. I don't speak Spanish.
I love it. I love it. And if you follow him on social media, if you don't, check him out on social media. I have loved seeing your stuff. I love your innovation. Give people a little bit of the background of who you are, what you've been doing.
I'm a Bible nerd that somebody decided to give a mic to. I mean, really, I just got my doctorate about 6 months ago.
It's a big deal. Congrats.
I love the word. I love the Bible. I probably fell in love with the Bible first and then learned how to communicate second. So big picture. I
like that model instead of people that love to communicate and then have to learn the Bible.
Yeah.
I'm like, fall in love with the Bible
it's
first.
It's harder that way.
Yeah.
But so I was boring for the first, 10 years that I communicated. And then I really took communication seriously. Either way, I travel. Last year, we did 93 speaking engagements last year.
That's a lot.
So traveling and speaking is probably a big thing that I do. My second book is coming out in March. So that's fun.
What was book number one?
Book number one is entitled Brainwashed, How to Overcome Toxic Thoughts and Take Back Control of Your Mind.
Love that.
Your mind's the most powerful thing you got.
Yep.
And the entire time I was a young adult pastor, I would always recommend Battlefield of the Mind by Joyce Meyer to young adults.
Yeah.
And, whether they were struggling with anxiety, depression, insecurity, overthinking, whatever. It's hey, you need to take back control of your mind. And a good amount of young adults just kept saying that's good, but it's old. Yeah. And I just thought to myself, man, I wonder if I could breathe fresh revelation on this really old idea, which is, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So that's my first book.
Yep.
Next book coming out is called Crushing Chaos.
Okay, I want to hear about it.
So excited about it.
All right, tell me what's the genesis of it. Why did you?
The genesis of it is I'm sitting in my doctoral program and I realized there are dragons in the Bible, and that the authors of the Bible actually used dragons as symbols for chaos, and that a lot of times, right, as communicators, if all we have is a hammer, everything becomes a nail. So a lot of times we just call everything sin. So sin becomes a blanket statement for everything. But the reality is that there are lots of things in life that are not sin, but are chaos. So let's take anxiety, right?
Yeah.
Anxiety is not sin.
Right.
But it is definitely a form of chaos. And the big idea is that the serpent in Genesis 3 is cursed to crawl in its belly. But so when we think of the serpent, we're thinking about the serpent in its post-curse form. It was most likely a dragon that actually talked to Adam and Eve, which means that the dragon is trying to usher chaos into the cosmos, not just sin.
Wow.
And so a lot of times, there's all types of things that are chaos. Is drinking necessarily sinful? I don't have a lot of biblical grounds to stand on if I say it's sinful,
right?
But it is chaotic.
Yeah, it is.
It does bring a lot of chaos.
Yep.
And I think that sometimes as leaders, we have an intuition that, man, I just know that that's not fruitful. I know that what Paul would say, right? That's
right.
It may be permissible, but it's not beneficial, and we just don't have language. But actually, the Bible gives us a lot of language. And one of the pieces of language that I just think we're leaving on the table is the language of chaos. Hey, there's some things that just bring chaos into your life. And God's solution then for chaos is not peace. And I did a lot of altar calls, praying for peace for people. And then, you've been in ministry a long time, right? You pray for peace on Sunday. They lose peace by Wednesday. They got to come back for a free refill by next Sunday for some more peace. And you're just praying for people to have peace. Right. And the reality is that if people don't have order, they'll never get peace.
Very good.
So the antidote for chaos is order.
Mm-hmm.
Man, you have sex before marriage, it's going to bring chaos into your life.
Right.
It doesn't matter how much I pray for you to have peace. Your boyfriend's always going to bring anxiety into your life because you're doing things out of God's order. So rhythm is a part of God's order. Hierarchy is a part of God's order. Sequence is a part of God's order. So really, the book is bringing some of this mythological language.
I love that.
Like making that stuff relevant again. They let me put a dragon on the cover.
I love that.
Which I'm like super stoked about. I got Leviathan. I got Leviathan on the cover. So, Genesis chapter 3 gives a promise that the seed of the woman will crush the head of the serpent. But to me, I'm like, the thing that they're looking at is actually a dragon. And this isn't like crazy. John combines all of these in the book of Revelation. He says the serpent, the dragon, Lucifer are actually all one thing. And man, there's just a lot of chaos. People are dealing with the chaos.
They are.
And we got to help them.
We are so connected because my word for 2025 is order.
Are you kidding me?
I preached it in week 1 of our Vision Sunday for the year. That when God does not bless disorder.
No.
He doesn't bless disorder.
No.
And there's something about in the scriptures. I did a whole thing on the tabernacle and Genesis, what is it? 25 through Genesis 40. It's like all Exodus. Exodus 25 through Exodus 40. And it's all these details, 15 chapters of details. But God visits places of order.
Yes.
And I love that. When you're sitting there talking about
even creation. Okay? Yes. So God moves from hovering above the chaos, because the Bible says that, the Spirit of the Lord is hovering above the waters, above the tohu vavohu, that this isn't just nothing. Sometimes in the Western world, we think about, creation is God moving the cosmos from nothing to something. But actually an ancient reader, if you put it in context, they wouldn't have thought about it as nothing to something. They would have thought about it as the deity is moving the cosmos from chaos to order. And so what is the pinnacle of that order? Well, deities only rest when there's order, which means the 7th day is actually the pinnacle of creation, not the creation of Adam and Eve. Because if there's no order, then God can't rest. And so he's resting. Why? And deities only rest where? In temples, which means Eden is designed to be a temple. And it's surrounded by wilderness because Adam and Eve are designed to actually conquer the chaos like their creator. So we've been made in the image of God to extend the boundaries of order. A garden is ordered space. The wilderness is wild space. Actually, let's go a little bit deeper. We're going to be Bible nerds a little. Adam is not taken from the soil of the Garden of Eden. He's actually taken from the soil outside and then placed in the garden, which means 2 things. The first thing that means is that he's not entitled to the garden, which means God is well within his rights to kick him out when he starts acting wild. So if you want to act chaotic, you go back into chaos.
Very good.
Second of all, Adam doesn't come from ordered ground. He comes from wild ground, which means order always has to be imposed on us. So when people say things like, well, discipline isn't natural for me. Of course, it's not natural for you. There's nothing about order for the human that is natural. However, it's where we flourish. So you're going to have to learn how to do things that are very counterintuitive in order to actually live, because death is easy. Chaos is very, very easy. What we do naturally is chaos.
Yes.
And you can live life by default, which is going to be chaotic. Anything by default is chaotic. Or you can live life by design, which is going to require that you figure out God's order. And so if you look, the Hebrew word for create is bara. And that word is actually only used a handful of times in the creation account. Which means God's not doing a lot of bara-ing. What he is doing he's doing a lot of what? Separating. He's doing a lot of boundaries. He's doing a lot of defining, because anything without a definition is chaos. So for all the people who are in a situationship, that relationship needs some definition. Anything without clarity is chaos. So order. I'm big on order.
You're speaking my language.
And
this
big on
is
order.
So big. Okay, so let's talk to the leader out there that hates order, that hates discipline. Like, where do they start?
Oh, you gotta. Everything starts with what you think.
Right.
Everything. At some point, you're gonna have to believe. No. I flourish in order. I have to talk to creatives a lot about this.
Yes.
Because creatives are like, no, I edit videos best at 2:00 in the morning or whatever, And it's like, no, like the keyboard is in order, like a piano's in order. Stringed instruments are like, what are you talking about? Like, actually, the most creative things on the planet don't function without order. So you would be shocked if you got your life in some kind of rhythm, sequence, order, submission. You'd actually be more creative. You would not be less creative. And you would be able to give your team clarity.
Right.
And clarity is kind.
Yes.
Okay. If everyone always has to guess, so where are we going? So what's the vision? So what are we up to? And then like every year, we got a different, for years it was like, we're doing outreach. And then now it's like, oh yeah, we're just going to reach all the church kids. And then it's like, no one wants to follow the roller coaster leader. At some point, you're going to have to just like,
right.
It's funny. I had a really, really good conversation because, I'm 37 years old and, I kind of knew in the back of my mind that I was going to plant a church one day. And, it's just kind of taking me a while to do it, But I saw a lot of my friends do it in their 20s and fail. We won't talk about that.
You're smart in waiting.
Yeah. So, I waited it out. And then I got to a point, probably around 34, where a lot of people that were in my life were like, you're going to have to jump off this bridge at some point.
Right.
You got to jump out of the airplane at some point. The parachute works, we promise.
Right.
And I don't know. I just kept having this apprehension. And brilliant leader in my life was like, I know what you're scared of. And I was like, what? And they were like, you're scared of the boredom. Because you want to know what it takes to be good? Doing the same thing every day, over and over.
Right.
You know what you're scared of? You're scared that you're going to lose the spontaneity that comes with the life that you have, because your life right now is a lot of speaking engagements and new books. And they were like, but I promise you, all that stuff is actually going to get better.
Yeah.
As you buckle in and just go, yeah, we got 52 weeks in a year. Sunday's going to keep coming. And I got to be okay with just boring. And boring's great. Boring's fantastic.
Right.
And you read Millionaire Next Door, you start, listening to Dave Ramsey, and it's not sexy. Like,
no, it's not sexy.
Creating wealth is not sexy. And sometimes I think we think entrepreneur, we think, oh, the rock star. But actually, most people who are just like building something that can actually be passed to the next generation, building great organizations, like really building stuff, they're down for the boring. They're down to do things in order. They're down to be regimented. They're down. And here's, I can be more personal about like how this like really hit me. My dad took me to a crack house for the first time when I was 5 years old.
Wow.
Okay. So I grew up in the opposite of order. Okay. I grew up in chaos. My mom was pregnant at 12. Okay. Gave birth to my older sister at 13. Was pregnant again at 14. Gave birth again at 15. Like my family environment. Okay. All 5 of my uncles are alcoholics. 2 of my aunts are prostitutes. So my life, total chaos. So here's what's fascinating. And golly, I wish I could quote the dude who like did a paper on this. Oh man. Anyway, we'll put it in the show notes or something.
Sure.
Okay. I just can't remember off the top of my head. So this article comes out in Forbes that's like the best entrepreneurs actually come from a chaotic background. Okay. Because there's something about pioneering that like you can't have a queasy stomach when you hit turbulence, because turbulence is inevitable. So there's a certain tolerance that you have for chaos when you're pioneering something and you come from a chaotic background. They said, but the problem is that for a lot of these people who are great pioneers, they've got this stomach for chaos, but then they realize that they are addicted to chaos. Because at some point, an organization, the dust settles. An organization kind of takes off, and then you get to cruising altitude. And most entrepreneurs and most leaders hate sticking around for the minutia and the boring when you get to cruising altitude.
Right.
And so what they'll do is they subconsciously self-destruct. So they essentially pull out the pin and throw the proverbial grenade into the organization. And it doesn't matter how many operations pastors you hire, doesn't matter how many directors you put in place, they start to sabotage everybody's job because they actually want chaos. And there are people that they've hired to come in to bring order, but they won't let those people do their job because they thrive. They think they thrive in chaos.
Right.
But what happens, and this is the people of Israel in the wilderness.
Yep.
If you stay in the wilderness too long, you adapt to it. And the reality is that you're not designed for the wilderness, even though you're adapting to it. So there's a lot of people who are just like, no, but I know how to handle my room being a mess. It's like, no, you don't. I'm here to tell you, you've adapted to it. The difference between thriving in something versus adapting to something. And so what? You can adapt. I don't know if you watch Dune. You watch Dune?
Of course, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love, and I love the movies. I love this new show on HBO, Dune Prophecy.
Yeah.
And the Freemen are like this group that's adapted to being out in the wilderness, in the desert. There's a sand desert on the planet called Arrakis. And they've got this dance in the desert, and their eyes have changed colors, and they adapt to the desert because humans adapt to trauma. We adapt to dysfunction. We adapt to all kinds of things. And I remember, me and my wife come from totally opposite backgrounds. My dad's a drug addict, and my mom's a teenage mom, and I come from a lot of chaos, so chaos is normal for me. Well, my wife just came from good God, fourth generation in the same church, not just Christian, same church. So just tons of just roots and health. And I remember the first 2 years of marriage, I would just create chaos. But even though God had rescued me from chaos, he's trying to put me in order.
Right.
I don't know how to act in order. And I'm making arguments out of nothing. I'm just chaotic. And I remember going through counseling, marriage counseling, personal counseling, a good pastor who's just kind of why does order make you itch? Why does order bother you so much? Right. And then having to go back and just deal with wait a second, I'm creating the very thing I said I hate.
Right.
I hated the way that I grew up. But man, it's created these patterns in me. And I'm going to have to learn how to create some boundaries and have healthy conversations and communicate differently. I'm going to have to learn how to not just communicate out of survival, but communicate from a place of I want to thrive. Right. And man, when I made that switch, I became a better leader. I became a better husband. I actually became a better preacher, but that came out of learning how to not communicate from a place of chaos and anger and frustration, but communicate for clarity. So anyway.
Yeah. I want to talk about that because you're describing so much of my biography when you're talking about I kind of thrive on the disorder too. I kind of like it. I like the murkiness. I like everybody's well, we need to know what the job title is. I'm who cares? Let's just have fun with it,
For sure.
Because so much of me thinks the reason we've had any bit of success is because of the chaos.
1,000%. 1,000%.
It's not sustainable.
For sure.
And so there is, thank God, we've put the right people in my life and does stuff to put order and correction and that in there. But what do you do to the leader that's just sold on the fact of
okay,
I'm worried about the order. I'm worried about it'll stop being fun for me.
This is fantastic. This is a great question. So God does something very fascinating in creation. Okay, so there are multiple symbols of chaos in Genesis 1. Darkness is one of them. Okay, the sea is one of them. Mm-hmm. Ancient Israelites didn't venture off into the sea. The only people who did that were the Phoenicians. They were crazy. They were crazy enough to go out in the sea because what? They believed there were sea dragons out there, man. So we stay on dry land. Dry land is order. Right. We can't function in the sea. We can't function in darkness. And God does something very fascinating. He doesn't eliminate darkness. He doesn't eliminate the sea. He just gives it boundaries. He creates a space. And what is he doing? He's saying, well, I want Adam and Eve to learn how to overcome chaos and how to tame it. But he left enough of it because chaos unhinged is terrible. But chaos controlled is a magnificent tool. Knowing how to leash chaos.
Right.
Oh, God says there's this thing out there called Leviathan, man. It's dangerous. It'll kill you. He's talking to Job about Leviathan. Right. This thing is crazy. But God doesn't go kill Leviathan. God places chaos in the cosmos. So actually, this is what God is saying to Job. He's saying, you're not suffering because you did anything wrong. You're suffering because baked within the cosmos is chaos. There's chaos in the world. Right. We live in a chaotic world. It's not bad. Chaos is not bad. This is why we need the word, because chaos isn't evil. Whereas the moment you say sin, there's moral overtones to sin. Right. But chaos isn't morally evil. It just is what it is. And I have to know how to leash it, control it. I have to know how to tame it. I have to know how to let chaos serve me and my organization. Yep. I have to have the right amount of it. There's a Goldilocks zone when it comes to chaos.
How do you figure that out?
Woo! Asking hard questions. I also think it's attention to man. It's not a problem to solve.
Right.
Right? It's going, all right. And it's verbalizing. You want to know when turbulence never bothers me? I fly a lot. When the pilot says, hey guys, takeoff's going to be a little bumpy.
Right.
And then you're in the middle of turbulence, like, he told me it's going to be bumpy. We're fine.
Right.
The team goes crazy when they don't know it's about to be turbulent. But when the leader can say,
or the spouse goes crazy.
Same
thing.
Yeah,
you're right.
But there's a way to brace everybody for chaos.
Yes.
There's a way to say, hey, look, we're about to have 1,300 Christmas services.
Right.
It's gonna be chaotic. Then we're gonna go into January. Hey, but I want everybody to look at the year. There's gonna be moments of rest. There's gonna be moments for order. Like, there's a method to the madness. So can you thrive on chaos as like 95% of your life? No, but do you need 15% of things that are a little unpredictable, things that are like risk oriented instead of risk averse? Absolutely. One time I was in a session with Stephen Chandler, and he was like, we have to do something as a church that scares us every 12 to 18 months.
I love that.
And that's great.
Yes.
We've scheduled chaos.
We've scheduled chaos.
We are scheduling time for chaos. That's great.
Yeah.
But if that's just we do something, a lot of leaders want to do something crazy that scares them. I actually grew up in a church with a senior pastor who actually did bungee jump and skydive and was a thrill seeker. And that's also how they led the ministry.
Right.
What I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it was faith oriented. It was great. But no one had job descriptions, and it was chaotic. And
it's like you're driving the jet boat, and you're turning, and you think you know what you're doing. Everybody's flinging off the back. Yeah. They're not enjoying it like you're enjoying it.
No. So I don't think there's a either or.
Right.
It's not, hey, order or chaos. No, God's design is an ordered life that's tamed chaos.
I love that.
Because there's good chaos. That's great.
It's the organization of the desk before you work. It's the same thing. It's like, I want my creativity to be in my sermon, but I don't want my creativity to be in the chaos of the desk. You know what I mean? It's like, there's all those studies of like, hey, you first fix it up to make sure everything's nice, and then you can properly walk in creativity.
100%.
It's the same thing. It's slowing down before you speed up. I love that. And that brings me a lot of hope, because I don't want to stop fun.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
Because it's not, I don't know if the Leviathan's fun, but the dragon seeking, it's fun a little bit. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But I don't, you can't live in that world because it's.
Sorry to cut you off.
Yep.
This is good, okay? Because you have to realize Yahweh, the God figure, allows a dragon into the Garden of Eden.
Yeah.
So if chaos is just bad, if chaos needs to be done away with, if all chaos needs to be extinguished and exterminated, why is there chaos in the garden? There's chaos in the garden because the test of every human is, am I going to tame the chaos? Am I going to do that which causes the chaos to bend its knee? Because the dragon belongs in the garden. He's already a fallen creature. Now, there's some scholars who actually believe that the fall of Satan and the fall of Adam and Eve are simultaneous. That's fascinating.
Oh, wow.
That his temptation of them is his fall. That's fascinating. There's some scholars who think that he falls before he tempts Adam and Eve. Either way, the figure that we know of as Satan is allowed to be in the garden. It's not like God doesn't know. It's not like God doesn't have security cameras. God knows that this being is there. So God doesn't want to protect people from chaos. He actually wants them to encounter chaos and then use the wisdom that he's given us to know how to harness it. That's the word. Harness. We have to learn how to harness chaos.
Could you not go into Pentecost and the order of the church?
Absolutely.
And the chaos of Pentecost.
Yeah.
Then how Paul's like, no, these things are good. Now they've just got to be in order.
Yes. I love prophecy, but not more than 3.
Right.
It's like, hey, speaking in tongues, we're cool. That's great. But hey, the spirit of the prophet is subject to the prophet.
Right.
So Paul, there's a difference between like, there's good chaos that's healthy. Man, this stuff moves organizations forward.
Yeah.
But it can't be so out of control that it's that the Holy Spirit's like, nah, I'm good.
Right.
And
right,
so
right.
often, I think the hardest thing to live in is tension. As leaders, guess what's easy? Extremes are easy.
Yep.
It's easy to go to one extreme or the other. I know a lot of people who their life is so ordered, ain't nothing fun.
Well, and there's no risk and there's no faith involved.
Exactly. And
Right.
guess what? Those churches die.
They do. Right.
And
they got
then-
it so organized. We've always done it this way. There's no mess.
This is dead.
Right. Right.
You're in love with a routine. You don't have a relationship. You have
Right.
a routine.
Right.
And then there's churches where it's like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, everyone's going to burn out.
You're right.
This is unhealthy. Like, you're going to have revival for a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, at some point, like, we got to get the army to, like, we got to march in order. Like, this has to, and it's easy to go one or the other. It's different. So this is actually fascinating. Someone that we both know, his name is Brad Lomenick.
Yeah.
One time I was doing some consulting at the church I was on staff at. And he didn't get brought back. But he was right. What he said was right.
Yep.
He said, if you guys, I was on staff at the time. He said, hey, he was like looking at the executive leadership team. I wasn't on it, by the way. I was not on the executive leadership team. But he said to the exec team, he said, if you knew how to use Manny's gifts properly, you would actually put him in a different department every 18 months. He said, because Manny has the skill of getting a plane out of the air, from the tarmac in the air. He's like, so it doesn't matter if it's a women's conference, I'd put Manny on it for 18 months. Anything you're going to launch at the church, just put Manny on it. If you're going to do a new campus, put Manny there. If you're going to, whatever you're going to do that's new, innovative, you have him in a spot on the org chart based on his age,
Right.
and his hard skills. He's like, but his soft skills are actually, he should be launching everything new that the church does. If it's the pastors speaking, it doesn't matter what it is, just take him, let him be the person that just launches stuff. And he's like, I promise you, but that's America, like settlers and pioneers. Like,
Yep.
It's different.
Yep.
Like, someone who's out on the frontier is different, man. You don't want them sticking around for too long because you need settlers to come in and
Yeah.
actually create some order. So I think that good church, like healthy church, goes, we know where the chaos is. We know where those areas are where we need chaos energy. It's not going to be neat right away. It is going to be a bit of a mess. And we're going to learn a lot, and we're bracing everybody for it. And then we know the people on the team and the areas of our ministry that keep chaos away, man.
Yeah.
Don't bring chaos to hospital visits. Don't do that.
Yeah. Very good.
Don't bring chaos to like there's areas where it's like, just
Right.
don't bring chaos over here, man. No.
Right.
And I think we got to be wise enough to just go, there's a power to this, and you got to harness it.
Manny, this is such a good conversation. And I think there's leaders listening to you that maybe have never heard of you before. Where do people get in touch with you? How do they hear more about your ministry, what you do, all that kind of stuff?
Easy. Instagram is where I hang out.
Yep.
Okay, so at Manny Arrango on Instagram. We just started a brand new YouTube channel.
Love it.
Called The Bible Department.
Okay.
We're going through the Bible, 365 videos on our new YouTube channel called The Bible Department. I'm a Bible nerd, as you can tell. I mean, I'm talking about dragons.
No, I think this is so good. The biblical literacy
Yeah.
problem in America is massive.
It's
and
massive.
you're working on fixing that.
Yeah. So YouTube, The Bible Department, Instagram, Manny Arrango.
When's your new book coming out?
Oh man, it comes out in March
March of
2025.
2025.
We're
So
around the corner.
We're around the corner, and we will make sure, if you're listening to this, that we will send out. We'll put even some links on Instagram and stuff so that you can get his new book. Let's put it up there as a bestseller.
Let's go.
All because of Made for More Leadership Podcast. All right, I'd like to end just 30 seconds with some rapid fire fun questions. Favorite cereal?
Oh my gosh, there's this healthy stuff that my wife gets. I'm sorry.
Oh, please
I'm
don't.
sorry.
All right.
It's some honey oat something.
Yeah, okay.
From Trader Joe's or somewhere.
Nobody wants to hear that.
I'm sorry.
All right, favorite fast food. Come on, give us something.
Oh, In-N-Out.
In-N-Out. In-N-Out's the best. It's
In-N-Out. Absolutely. And I
How
used
do
to
you
be an
do
In-N-Out
your
hater.
How do you do your burger?
4x0.
Okay.
Okay. Protein style.
Uh-huh.
No spread.
Uh-huh.
Ketchup and mustard instead. Pickles, chilies, raw onions, grilled onions.
Oh my. I am
That is my
next
In-N-Out
time
order.
I'm in
with
Texas
fries and a Coke.
I love it. Okay. Most recent fun Netflix binge.
Oh my God. Well, Dune Prophecy on HBO.
Yep.
Very good. I binged it. The Penguin on Hulu.
I started watching. Yeah.
Binged it.
Yep.
Trying to think. Last thing I watched. Oh, guess what? Chaos. Have you seen this Greek god thing?
No.
Oh my God. Like Zeus, they're taking like the Greek pantheon
and
making them modern.
I did. Yeah, I did.
But I think they spell it with a K.
Yeah, chaos. Yeah. Very good.
Very good. But I heard it didn't get renewed for season 2.
Yeah.
And that's
tough.
I hate when Netflix does that.
I know.
It's like, come on, guys.
Okay. One thing you're really excited about this year.
Oh, I'm planting a church.
You're planting a church.
Guess what the name of the church is? Oh, do you know?
No.
The Garden.
Of course it is. The Garden.
The Garden.
In Houston, Texas.
In Houston, Texas.
That's awesome.
It's going to be fantastic.
How do people get involved?
Oh, man. Go to my Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you can go to, or here we go. Easy. thegarden.church. You go to thegarden.church. If you live in the Houston area, you can actually join our launch team right now. We've got launch parties starting in the spring.
I love it.
Thegarden.church.
You are a gift to the body of Christ.
Oh, thank you.
And he's about to preach for us at Radiant tonight, and I'm excited.
I'm pumped.
Hey, thanks for listening to Made for More, and we put out new content every single month. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this stuff. Wasn't this a good conversation that other people need to hear? So make sure you share it, and we will see you next month.